Hello and welcome to the Podquest of Bread. My name is Henry Conley. Tonight I want to talk about talking points and narratives and how they pertain to the Trump administration and his handling of the coronavirus and even his own infection and run-in with the coronavirus. Now, Donald Trump is spinning a very, very careful tale and carefully crafted play off of him coming down with COVID-19. He's working to twist this virus and how it affected him and how he recovered from it in a way that his cult will gobble up, that they will consume and then regurgitate to other people. I've experienced this myself, where people have said that our Trump supporters have said that if the arguably one of the most unhealthy people in the world, and a 74-year-old man at that point can recover in 4 days from the coronavirus than any of us can. And this is the narrative that Donald Trump wants his people to regurgitate. This is what they want, or he wants them to be saying, because it plays right into his handbook. They aren't going to fact check why Donald Trump was able to theoretically recover from this so fast. They won't even fact check whether he is still suffering from COVID-19, and they won't even look at the fact of when his last negative test was. So let's break this down a little bit. The first thing here is that they are being tricked by Trump and his administration and his campaign team into portraying this extravagant, strong ruler vibe off of Trump. They are playing the Trump beat COVID message to the T. Now, I want to point something out to these people if they happen to watch this podcast. I'm sure that if you and I had access to the very same medicines that he had, the same team of doctors standing around him, checking on him at all times. If we had access to the very same things that he did, maybe we could worry a little less about COVID-19. But here's the thing that Trump supporters are failing to do and failing to think about when it comes to Donald Trump and his timeline between coming down with the virus and leaving Walter Reed. None of us have access to the same level of treatment that he has and that he had. None of us have a team of doctors dedicated to watching over us. None of us are going to get access to experimental treatments and experimental procedures. They won't fact check this. Donald Trump says that he's fine. He's clear. He's okay. His own White House doctor is saying that Donald Trump's perfectly fine. He's ready to go. He'll be ready to go in a couple days. No problems. Nothing at all. Somehow, 74-year-old obese man beat COVID-19 faster than some of the most athletic people out there have. And they're going to play that message. Now, of course, his supporters are going to point that Dr. Connolly is saying that he's fine, that he's okay, he's ready to go. But remember, this is the same doctor who downplayed whether he was on supplemental oxygen. This is the same doctor that had to dodge talking points in order to avoid questions about Donald Trump's health while he was in Walter Reed. This is the same doctor that signed an NDA about Donald Trump's mysterious trip over a year ago to Walter Reed. How can you trust him? See, that's the things us logical thinkers will look at and say, how can we trust this? How can we trust a president that's lied to us? But for his cult, this is a president who has told them the truth and acted in their best interests from day one. Donald Trump stood up and said, everything's fine. Don't be afraid of COVID. In reaction, nations around the world and people around the world were shocked. They were flabbergasted that they had seen something that they didn't even think this president was capable of. And then we get the news that we get today, that Donald Trump just a little over a week after contracting the virus, is going to hold a event tomorrow in the White House. This event's, of course, going to have people there. I can assume that there won't be masks. I can assume that social distancing won't be adhered to. We just got through dealing with a super spreader event at the White House, and we are still seeing the effects of it. And Donald Trump is going to potentially have another one tomorrow at the White House. How many more will become infected due to this event? Donald Trump's going to hold a campaign rally in Florida. He's expected to hold another one in Allegheny County in Pennsylvania. These events are more than likely not going to be socially distanced. These events are more than likely not going to involve masks. And if there are masks, they will be few and far between. See, these people are falling for the talking point that Trump is putting out there. Trump is doing everything he can to portray this virus as nothing to worry about. Meanwhile, today set records in this pandemic. It set records worldwide. Just to read through some of the numbers, just a few of these numbers. 350,766 new cases of coronavirus worldwide, the biggest one-day increase on record, according to the WHO. 6,339 dead today. For the first time since the pandemic began, Europe reported more than 100,000 cases in one day. Italy reports 5,372, a record. Toronto, Peel, and Ottawa are closing indoor dining, gyms, cinemas, and other venues. France reported 20,339 new cases, yet another record. France hit 10% positivity rate. They were at 2.3% in May. Germany reports 4,930, another record. U.S. reports 57,542, yet another massive record. Czech Republic, 8,618 new cases, a record. This is what we're dealing with. Argentina, 515 new cases, a record. There is one country that did not post a massive spike in cases today. There's one country. One. And that country's New Zealand. And why didn't New Zealand post some massive spike in cases? Because they've handled coronavirus properly from the start. They've taken it serious. In fact, New Zealand reported today that they are officially at 14 days without community transmission of the virus. That is a feat. That is successful leadership. That is actually accomplishing the goal of being a leader of a country, which is to protect the people. Yet, Donald Trump is telling us to not be afraid, to go about our daily lives as if there is no virus, to pretend that this virus is only impacting less than 1% of people, or whatever other talking point they want to throw out. They will do anything in order to pretend it doesn't exist and play it down. Donald Trump needs to do this, and he needs to do it because this virus has literally put his reelection in jeopardy. And for him, if he has to choose between doing the right thing, protecting the people, and probably losing the election, or sacrificing hundreds of thousands, if not a million people, just to win re-election, he's going to choose the latter. I want to be clear about something, okay? We have gone 8 months into this pandemic. This is not the end. We are nowhere close to the end. When you look at the world's case reported reported cases day by day by day, they have been on a steady incline. They have not yet rounded a curve and came down. People are talking about a second spike. This is not even a second spike for the world in general. This virus is still in its first wave. Some countries are experiencing a second wave or a second spike in cases because they started easing restrictions that are intended to help slow this virus down. Top epidemiologists are saying how this virus is going to mutate again. Every mutation of this virus becomes just a step scarier. Because as it mutates, it adapts to us. It adapts to the human element. And every time it mutates, it gets more lethal. And the failure of leaders around the world, especially ours, to take it serious and to actually implement things that are needed in order to stop the spread of this virus, they're going to show in numbers dead and infected. They're going to show in numbers of people suffering from long-term disabilities due to this virus. Donald Trump wants to play it down. Donald Trump wants to pretend like this virus is not happening anymore. Like it's nothing. It's no worse than the flu. This virus is somewhere around 3 times more deadly or lethal than the average flu. When you look at deaths, the flu on average kills somewhere between 50 and 60,000 people a year. This virus has killed over 200,000 people in 8 months. Stop listening to the talking points. Stop believing the rhetoric. Stop believing the falsities. Because literally your life depends on it. Your family's life depends on it. Your friend's life depends on it. Any chance of getting back to normalcy depends on it. Listening to this buffoon, this orange moron in the White House, this occupant of the people's house, is going to lead to nothing more than people dying. And not just 210,000. Let's spike that number up to 500,000. Let's spike that number up to 1 million. It's endless. In sports betting, we call it the ceiling, where the max you can bet someone's going to top out score-wise. Right now, our ceiling's endless because people are listening to this moron. Wear your masks. It's the least you can do. Understand this. Other countries are doing this. Other countries are not bitching, pissing, and moaning about their rights. I see nowhere in the Declaration of Independence or the Constitution where it mentions masks. This is a public health emergency. And to not wear your mask is to not show compassion for your fellow human. That is the epitome of the American selfish attitude. That mask isn't for you. It's for the person that you're talking to, the person you're standing around. Show compassion to your fellow human. To the people on the right, to the Trump supporters. There are so many times that you guys will talk about showing compassion towards people. It usually has to do with that word that starts with an A. I think it's called abortion. You guys get all up in arms about a life. Get up in arms about the lives around you then and wear your fucking masks. It doesn't need to be like this. As more and more states in the United States begin to ease restrictions, the numbers are going to go up. So what we have to do as people is decide that we aren't going to allow the government to control our actions. Are them lowering mitigation efforts or easing mitigation efforts, we do not allow that to happen. We as the public stand up and say, you know what, if you don't want to mitigate the threat, then we will mitigate the threat ourselves. I'm not saying to not live your life. I'm saying to live your life safely. Talking points are dangerous. Talking points lead to very scary situations. Talking points in North Korea lead to people being in prison camps. Talking points in Nazi Germany led to the death of 6 million Jewish people. Talking points in all these different failed states led to death. We can't allow talking points to lead to the death of more Americans. Stand up, put your mask on, and protect your fellow human. Stay beautiful, humans.